Good evening. All right, listen, if you're checking in and you're wondering why I'm an hour late, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because there's this weird phenomenon going on with me. It's not because I was up all night, it's not whatever, but I kid you not. You guys are going to think I'm bullshitting you, but lately I've been drinking a lot of caffeine. I stopped some of my medication, like my cannabis medication. And so I'm just trying to get my do a little bit of cleanse, and I've been drinking too much caffeine, and I've been having this weird phenomena. I didn't know what was going on. I told my wife, I'm like, every time I drink caffeine, like today, I was just crashing. It was like Ambien. So I don't know. I'm hoping you can hear me, and I'm sorry, guys, but this is the truth. This isn't some bullshit. So this afternoon, I'd wake up, I'd have a little bit of coffee, and then probably about an hour later, I'm just crashed. Like, I crash. Coffee makes me crash. I don't know if my camera's straight or not. Let me just see if I can get this right. But, so of course, I take my afternoon naps, everything's fine. And then, I told my wife, we were researching it, and it turns out, like, if you have too much caffeine, there's some chemical that builds up. What is it called? Look, man, I'm all jacked up. Adenosine. It builds up, and then I guess coffee blocks that, and so your body keeps producing it. I've been falling asleep when I drink caffeine. And so, of course, I told my wife, I'm like, I'm going to take a quick nap right before. I'm just exhausted because I just had some caffeine. And I set my alarm, slept right through my alarm. So that's why I'm late. We're okay, though. We're not going to beat ourselves up over it. I'm going to basically take a detox from caffeine now to get my body back to normal. And I've been actually sleeping good lately. Well, whatever the word is. And so anyway, listen, welcome to Nightcap. For all you people out there on all the streams, hopefully you can see me. I literally just came up and plugged my camera in because I was downstairs, camera in hand, and just crashing. My wife comes down and says, hey, look, she usually sends me a text like, hey, can you let the dogs out or whatever? And of course, no response from me. And she's like, hey, don't sleep through your live. I'm like, why would I? There's no chance I'm going to sleep through my live. Well, I slept right through my live. So again, I'm actually taking care of myself. I'm feeling good. And this caffeine thing's been getting me. I've told a couple people online and just been like, it's weird. But anyway, it's a real thing. Look it up. Why does coffee make me tired? And I mean, it's just been crazy. So apparently I've been drinking too much caffeine. Anyway, listen, welcome to Nightcap. We're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it before the day's over. We're going to count it. We're going to count it as being on time because I told you I wouldn't miss a beat this year. So, woo! I'm just waking up. It's that wake up, you know how you take a nap and you wake up, you don't know where you're at? My wife comes down. She's like, hey, did you miss your live? I'm just like, I get up. Miss your live. I'm just like, I get up, pop up. I'm like, what time is it? She's like, 11:30. I'm like, gee, yeah. So that's what happened. But I have enough spice in me to get on and just want to talk about something. And it's not going to be long, but I wanted to get it out of the way because the fact is everybody's tired, and maybe this is just my body saying, yo, dude, maybe you need to set an example for everybody and let them know sometimes you just got to rest, okay? Look, that's the best I got, but that's all true. Everything I just told you is true. So tomorrow's going to be my first day of no caffeine. We'll see how it goes to get my body back to some equilibrium without this whatever adenosine. Adenosine is a chemical in the central nervous system. It regulates your sleep cycle. So obviously I've had problems with sleep. You guys know that. And apparently what happens is your body keeps making it. And so eventually it makes enough so that you eventually go to sleep. Well, apparently coffee blocks this. It blocks the brain's adenosine receptors from receiving adenosine. And it doesn't stop the actual production of adenosine or the ability to form additional adenosine receptors. This means that when the effects of the caffeine wear off or the buildup of adenosine is there's a buildup of adenosine wanting to build its receptors. This can lead to tiredness. I mean, it's like Ambien. If I have the rest of my drink back there, And if I drink that, I'm going to fall asleep. So maybe I found the solution to my sleep. But anyway, all right. So real stuff. It happens. As you know, I kind of beat myself up when I make mistakes. And this is like a big one because I wanted to be consistent. But I'm going to give myself some grace tonight because what's happening to me is very trivial compared to what's happening to everyone else. And one of the conversations I had today was I've been posting, I'm always trying to advocate for the people that are in our positions of teaching as far in healthcare, because look, those are things that we need to have a functioning society. We need good education. I talked about the science, people ignoring science. There was a viral video today passing around of Dr. Fauci getting abused by folks in Congress because they couldn't find his public disclosures. And so we have people that don't even know how to use the internet, apparently, that are in Congress. And so today what I want to talk about real quick is, I made a post suggesting that because of this fallout from COVID and the fact that we're really not treating our heroes, which the teachers, the frontline folks, our grocery clerks, our restaurant people that had to work through this, our heroes are getting neglected. And it happens every single time where we'll have a crisis and we'll try to do something to fix it. We'll patch it up like we did a lockdown. And of course, nobody could handle the lockdown. We patched up. People don't want to wear masks because it's like fucking the Holocaust and all that shit. And so you've got these people that are imbeciles running into these situations where they're spreading this information. We had an imbecile president. Starting from the top, we have a president that is essentially, saying things don't exist. And so that's stupid, as I said, that has long tentacles go down. And we have crises happening right now. Folks that your friends, your colleagues, your family that are in the teaching game or that are in the healthcare game already know this. And I'm going to give you a couple anecdotes that are happening to me and folks that I know, and hopefully help you understand, I fell asleep tonight through a live, okay? Which is, again, it's eating me up inside thinking, you missed it. You're not going to have that perfect attendance here. But I'm still counting it, motherfuckers. But here's the real point. We've got leaders that are watching this crisis unfold, that have access to more information than you and I do. They have access to the, supposedly, the greatest country in the world, and we're the richest country in the world, and they don't have basic information gathering skills. They have staff. I mean, a senator has all this staff, and nobody could Google, the things that I'm going to talk about. And so we have folks asleep at the wheel. It's one thing if I fall asleep in the back of the car and, I miss my exit and I miss the, maybe I'm the guy giving directions, I fall asleep. That's not what happened today. We have folks that are asleep at the wheel. And a couple stories I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to wrap tonight. And again, look, it's still, Nate, ignore those fucking voices. You're okay. You messed up. But again, you're doing things right, and you're trying to do the right thing. So it's not the end of the world. That's what I'm telling myself internally. But so, I make this post about teachers, and I say that the post suggests that a lot of teachers are leaving their job because even though they have the passion, it's not even about the money. I posted something today. I'm digressing, but I posted something today talking about how, if you did the babysitter rate for teachers and you said $10 per kid and you multiplied that by 28 kids, and then you multiplied that by 6.5 hours, and then you multiplied that by 180 days a year, you're talking about $320,000 that should be paid to our teachers, okay? And you're thinking, wow, that's way too much for a teacher. I have no idea why you think that's way too much for a teacher, but not too much for a fucking realtor, or not too much for a fucking car salesman, or not too much for any kind of salesperson that's out there hustling and doing their thing. These people are selling your kids' education and filling their brains with knowledge, hopefully giving them the critical knowledge that they don't vote for fucking authoritarians, and they understand what fascism is. They understand the history of it. So we have a crisis going on in this teacher domain. I post a meme about how really they should be getting $320,000 per year. 2 teachers, more than 2, many inbox me, said, I don't give a shit about the money. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see some empathy. I'd like to see some compassion. I'd like to see a scenario where we have, the resources that we need. And one of the things that stuck out, I'm not going to say any names, and I think the person deleted, which I understand. I was a little disappointed because I wanted to reference it, and I missed screenshots, but I reproduced some of it, and I'm not going to call this person out, but this anecdote's pretty interesting, and hopefully I won't put their job in jeopardy by putting out too many identifiers. But apparently a local high school or a local school, I'm not sure if it's a high school or not, there was no identifiers in where it was, is 19 teachers short because of COVID. So we're talking about 1,600 people in the building, 19 teachers are absent. So you figure, 19 times 28 students is a lot of folks that aren't getting that ratio correct for the teacher to student ratio. That's not even the worst part. You've got 5 subs. So this school has 5 available subs and 19 teachers out. What do you think that means? That means that we have administrative staff, principals, counselors, people that aren't necessarily equipped or may not have that connection to your student or to your child. We have those folks stepping in. We have them putting classes together so that they can have, kind of maximize the qualified teacher response and make sure that the qualified teachers are working with their students. And so you can imagine a person that's in love with their job for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, 11 years. And then all of a sudden now we say you're heroes because we've got all this massive switch and change that's happening because we can't do in person. And, parents aren't going to be able to teach their kids, help their kids with the homework and so forth. And so you have somebody that has all the passion in the world for this position that's going to help your little shit become a non-fascism voting motherfucker. And now we have teachers strapped. We have them hating their job. Someone that had the passion now has to do, probably 4 or 5 times the work that they had to do before. So guess what do? This is one person I know who is friends with my in-laws, quit their job. They quit their job after 19, 20 years. This isn't made up shit. This is real people. I didn't even know it until we went over the holiday. Like, yeah, this guy quit his job. He got tired of calling, I kid you not, this is real, this is family. He got tired of calling 911 for all the folks and the kids that were looking to commit suicide. So suicide is up with these, this notion for suicide. We've got mental health crisis happening. Meanwhile, you're on fucking Facebook or fucking stalking some board member or some bullshit while we've got major crisis going on in our learning centers. Again, I've got 2 pugs. They're pretty well trained. Jezebel lately has been shitting wherever she wants because she doesn't like the cold. But you know what? That's my problem. I'm not causing any pain for anyone else. She's not going to go vote for some fucked up clown, some reality TV show because I want to own the libs. And she's not going to deny science. She's just going to bark when she wants to eat. She's going to look at me for whatever reason. When she needs to take a shit, she always comes to me, and I'm the one that has to leave her out. And by the way, her name is fucking perfect, Jezebel and Delilah. Do you understand? I would have, if I had a boy, I'd name him Lucifer. I just love that fucking shit. I love fucking with people. Anyway, I don't want to go there. See, look, clear your mind. So Jezebel and Delilah are my children. And I'm responsible for their education and making sure they don't shit on everybody else's lawn, and I pick up their poop after them. It's very basic. You've got like little mini yous that you're sending into a school that maybe if you're Warwick, you've decided, you know what, fuck it. We don't even care if you have COVID. Pretty much, we're just going to kind of roll with it, and masks are optional. You're sending your kid into this zone where teachers are understaffed, and then your little shit is bringing COVID home to you, and then you're on Facebook or you're on Twitter or whatever complaining about the oppressive nature of masks and anti-vax. Meanwhile, people in your party are dying in droves because they don't believe this. And look, Omicron, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know anything. I'm not the person that studies vaccines or viruses or anything like that. So you don't need to listen to my medical advice. And I understand the CDC has been a little confusing. But if you stop reading all the memes and you actually look at what the CDC says. By the way, I have one of my bartender friends is like, I don't know what the fuck people are so confused about. I went through the CDC guidelines and I understood it. But no, people like to add to the confusion, so it's actually become a meme and it's funny. But truthfully, if you've been following the CDC, while you may not agree with some of their methods, or you may not agree with some of their timelines, and there's an argument to be made that suggests that there may be corporate influence shrinking that gap, and of course America needs to fucking work, and those capitalists need to fucking labor. Either way, it's not that fucking confusing when you read it. But again, this whole bubble of this whole meme culture has, likes to parody everything and make satirical comments about anything that they don't like, and this is really the way of communication for a lot of folks. I kid you not. There's people in my Facebook post that will argue using memes. They'll argue using memes. So some complex topic, and here's a fucking meme to simplify, reductively put out their position. And so this is what we have going on in a local school district, I believe. And in fact, several other teachers kind of piled on and said, yeah, this is the way it is. I'm in Arizona. This is the way it is. It's in Arizona. This is the way it is in Texas. This is the way it is where I'm from. And so across the nation right now, we've decided, because we have half of the fucking population has no critical skills and has no judgment call, can't see the fact when balls are swinging, hitting them in the face by an emperor with no clothes, don't even understand the fable problem. I'm going to say it until they fucking understand it. Live in the fable. And now we have a crisis that's filtered into our education system and our healthcare system. I already talked about the healthcare system so many times, but again, this is happening right now, real time. We've got understaffed, and this isn't like just a little bit. Normally it might be 5 or 6 teachers, and maybe they have 1 or 2 situations where they got to cover. We've got 19 people out in this one building. 19 people out in one fucking building because your ass didn't want to fucking wear a mask, or you're going for medical freedom, you fucking idiot. Medical freedom? What do you mean by medical freedom? Does that mean this other incident that I'm going to tell you about where an infant is having breathing problems at my in-laws' place? Maybe I shouldn't identify, but they're having problems breathing, and they go to the hospital, the local hospital, to take their infant who's having trouble breathing, and there's no beds at LGH because they can't fucking take their kid there. They can't take their kid to the hospital. And so the hospital's instructions were, it's an 8-hour wait to get your fucking infant in because we're fucking covered. We're overwhelmed with beds. We have no beds. This is what's happening. And before we tried to lock down, the whole point of the lockdown was to prevent that from happening, to work on the hospitals. Everyone thought it was for whatever reason or political. It was literally to say, hey, look, when shit hits the fan, we want to make sure we can handle it. And so that's why they kind of released the pressure of the lockdown. We figured, all right, hospitals can maintain. Hospitals aren't maintaining right now. People are dying. This shit's all to hell. And this is all to hell in the education system too. And so what do you think's going to happen now? So you got kids that are not getting educated. Their kids are stressing the fuck out, not getting that connection, which every single good teacher tells me, look, I like to have a connection with my students. As a horrible student with ADHD, and I didn't even know what the hell that was back then, that totally had problems focusing, class clown, rated smart but couldn't fucking finish a book. And the teachers that did best with me were the ones that made that connection. So, this stood out to me as like, all right, so wait a second. There's none of that. That problematic kid is not getting that attention. What do you think's going to happen to that problematic kid when they start realizing they're falling behind? They have no idea why. They're not getting properly diagnosed with anything because there's one teacher to 65 or maybe 70 students, and there's really no personal connection. I'm not even talking about virtual. Of course, virtual has its own struggles. But we're talking about really understaffed local educational institutions. And meanwhile, people want to complain about paying more taxes, and they want to fucking go and accuse Dr. Fauci of insider trading when and also accuse him of not having public disclosures. These are the fucking distractions. They're focused on making political partisan points while shit is crumbling. It's not going to be like, hey, by the way, guys, America's kind of falling apart, so we need to get it together. It's happening in real time, and it's happening to core institutions. Our fucking healthcare system sucks. We don't have universal healthcare. They're struggling to get a fucking, we can send an AOL AOL CD to every fucking home in this country. A private company could, but the US government can't put out a fucking PCR test or send everybody some shit so that everyone has the ability to test themselves, send everybody a fucking mask. I mean, we're so pathetic. Our infrastructure, we sit here acting like we're the greatest folks in the world or the greatest country in the world, and we're pathetic at responding to crisis. How does that make you great when you can be crumbled by a fucking healthcare crisis, and you can actually bankrupt people through a healthcare crisis? You can actually bankrupt the nation and our educational system through a healthcare crisis, because you guess what? Your rugged individualism and your fact that you're so fucking tough about wearing your mask and you got to fucking worry about CRT, you fucking idiot, Justin. You campaign on a racist thing, and now we've got problems. So while you're sitting on the school board making decisions about what books they can fucking read, meanwhile, your fucking whole district's understaffed. They're stressing. People are quitting teaching. People that love it. People that when I threw them the meme that said, hey, look, you're really worth $325,000 a year. You should fight for that. They don't even fucking care about that. They just want to be left alone and given the resources to do their job. You don't care. We don't care. Collectively, we don't give a shit. Then we've got the fucking liberals running their private school, making the argument that, hey, you know what, we're in a good position because we've got protocols, and we've taken money out of the public system and put them into our little fucking cute and good and well-run schools. But guess what? Those resources are now in that little private sector. We've got a little club over here, that the little tribe of the rock school doing their thing. I have no issue with these private schools that are doing this stuff. What I have an issue with is when they're thriving and we've got our public system just crumbling. And so then you got the other side of the argument, my favorite one, which is the homeschoolers, and say, yeah, well, we've been prepared for this for years. Motherfucker, not everybody can homeschool their kid. And you know what? Not everybody wants to. And one of the great things about America was that you could get a good education here. That was something we had, that was kind of we could boast on back in the 70s and the 60s and the 80s. Once we started to integrate, we started in the 70s and the 80s where we really started thinking about it. And then, of course, you know, at some point, people thought that teachers weren't worth it. And now we have, you know, when a crisis comes along, if you're not really prioritizing your shit and the crisis comes along, guess what's going to happen? You're going to fall apart. So as we speak right now, it is very difficult to get a bed at LGH because they're worried about these fucking these unmasked, these anti-vaxxers that are clogging up the system. And I'm reading these articles where people, you know, of course the liberals and the media are saying, you know what, you shouldn't chastise the unvaccinated. It's not their fault. We need to get them vaccinated, make them feel good. I don't really I'm not really feeling a lot of sympathy for folks that make these arguments that you're in a Holocaust when we're watching our infrastructure, our educational infrastructure crumble. You know, my wife's in healthcare. I mentioned a couple days ago they had 3 units down. Now it's 6. 6 out of 13 units at where she works are fucking out of commission, had to be quarantined, and they're not even set up to handle COVID patients. Of course, they spend all this money on testing, and they can test everybody. They've got all the money in the world to do what they want with testing. But it's difficult for an institution that's not set up to handle COVID to handle it. And so what do? You have to protect the other patients and the other people and staff. And so you shut units down. So, you know, even during the whole COVID lockdown, we've been very fortunate in this household to have income and to also have resources to be able to continue to thrive. And that's kind of, I'm sitting here in a position of privilege. But it's no longer the case where, you know, it's not touched me personally and where it's actually affecting our stress levels at home. And by the way, it has nothing to do with me oversleeping. That whole stuff that I told you in the beginning is real. Google it. It's crazy. But it was always a weird thing when I take stimulants that I would get tired. But this has been really crazy lately. So anyway, but let me get back to the core issue. And that is that, you know, we're in the crisis right now. It's happening. You see a couple things you see people talking about in the news, But what you saw today was misinformed senators having a hearing on how to get a grip on the testing and all the things. And really, they could have taken it as an opportunity to say, hey, look, Dr. Fauci, you made some mistakes. And I give him some grace because, quite frankly, it was called a novel virus, and that means that no one knew what the fuck was going on. So I don't expect him to be a god. Of course, I expect him to hopefully guide us. But you have his advice coming out, and then you have the president of the United States for fucking 4 years just building a fucking house of cards of lies. His followers now just sycophant, fillet anytime they get a chance. Their head is literally up his ass, and you don't understand where they end or he begins, and they're, marching for the Donald Trump fucking cause. Meanwhile, we're crumbling. All the MAGA shit that they're preaching, make America great, it's really the opposite of it. It's such a weird thing. It's like somebody's writing this slow motion dystopian novel that we're all part of, and there's a lot of folks that know where it's going to end up, but most people don't understand kind of how things are like dominoes, and they kind of, shit rolls downhill. And so, you might be happy at your job, you might be back at work and really feeling it, and then you can bitch about the inflation. Man, I wish inflation was the fucking problem of the day. I wish it was. The problem of the day is there are core institutions in this country that are in crisis mode, way worse than we were in the lockdown. And so it's, we're not going to do a lockdown. There's no political will to do a lockdown. You motherfuckers can't fucking stay in your house for fucking 2 weeks. We know, you've watched people bitch and complain about how your rights were being taken away from you and all that dumb shit. And so guess what? I don't have any kids, so I can sit here and, stand on my little pedestal and name call and throw jabs. But the truth is, it does affect me too, because I'm not looking forward to another 4 years of this fucking clown show that we had. But if you continue to raise these little shits without an education and, being kind of neutral on the isms, as one senator or legislator said, it's not teachers' job to impart morality. It's just put out the facts. If teachers are talking about Nazism, there's no reason for them to take a position on it. Just put the facts out and let the students decide. That's a real thing that happens right now. So we're already past the education gap when we've got our leaders doing that. We've got a fucking senator, Senator Marshall, getting in front of the entire nation, requesting publicly available documents, and then making it a partisan issue and trying to make it an attack ad out of it. This is the clown show we're dealing with. I don't know who the fuck's in charge here. I don't know what's happening. I don't know who's making really educated decisions. All I do know is there's one guy that has been working on infectious disease for 37 years, and they're clowning him, and he's become the new boogeyman for half the country. While your kid's going into a fucking dead zone where teachers are losing their pizzazz, losing their fire. I'm not saying everybody, and this may not be everywhere across the country, because there's probably pockets of privilege, and maybe there's places where you have 3 fucking staff to 1 student or some imaginary thing that doesn't exist. But we don't care. We do not care. So as it's happening right now, as today, tomorrow, there are teachers working right now on their lessons plans for tomorrow because they couldn't do it anytime because they had to cover it for other folks. There's hospitals and people in the hospital that are running double shifts because they're understaffed. And what are you going to do when your colleague dies and they're not being replaced or has to quit because they're burnt out? And now guess what? You enjoyed your job. You enjoyed working with that colleague. It's over. It's over. There's somebody, look, Joni, I agree. I see your comment. I'm going to try to look at the comments every now and then. It is a very sad time. It's a scary time too, especially if you're a parent of a young child, can you imagine being a parent of a young child that has a lung infection that you're told, hey, look, you know what? Hopefully they'll be able to survive 8 hours, but take them home, do these things. We can't treat your child. And then maybe you have a 6-year-old that's also having to go to school, and then they're not getting the proper education. I'm telling you right now, personally, for me, the best teachers were the ones that said, you know what, this little fuck, this little shit, he's an ass, but he's kind of sparky, he's funny. I'm going to pay attention to him. I'm going to give him some connection. I'm going to let him know I care. I'm going to know I see him. Those are the teachers I thrived. Weirdly, you look at my report card, like 3rd grade, A's in handwriting. Look at my handwriting today. It's horrible. You've got sixth grade, great teacher, good grades. You've got a couple math teachers that I had that I did well with because they made connection and I gave a fuck. But I was a horrible student except for there were times I can remember, and Mrs. Young, she was a saint. If anybody go to White Oak, remember Mrs. Young? Mrs. Shear. She used to brush my hair in the morning. These were teachers that made connection. I came from a big family. I was kind of a loose cannon when I was a little child and probably still dealing with the trauma from pre-adoption. And so I had all kinds of fucked up shit going on, which, I'm still dealing with some of that stuff today. And now you're sending your kids to places where they may have found refuge like I did. I found refuge in school. I loved being in school anywhere where I was away from what I felt was a chaotic environment growing up, and one that just I kind of always felt like outsider the whole time. And I'm not suggesting my family did any of that. It was all kind of internalized here. I had a good, privileged upbringing with a lot of things that nobody had. No fault of anybody, and I'm not blaming or hating on anybody for the things that I struggle with. But this was my story. This is what you're gonna learn more about some of the things that I deal with and some of my trauma because I think it's relevant. It's not so weird. I from time to time I go see somebody, I see a specialist and I talk about it. One of the last things a specialist told me is like, you know what? You think you're unique, but you're not that unique with your problems. And so, you kind of isolate and everything else. I'm not ashamed to even say that I've seen therapists before. It's not even a bad thing. And it's not because I'm fucking nuts. It's because I had issues I wanted to resolve. So I'm trying to fix those issues. So I put in the time and the effort. And so what we're doing right now is we're creating a whole trauma cycle for kids. I'm not a psychologist, okay? But we're creating a trauma cycle for your kids. I'm not bullshitting you when I say a friend of our family quit their job because they were just getting depressed from the suicide and calling 911 on their kids. Joni, I see you made another comment. Let me just pull this up. Let's see if I can be fancy. You know what? We're going to be fancy. Who cares? We're going to see if I can get fancy. I can't get fancy, can I? No, I can't. All right, no fancy. All right, so let me just read your comment. Teachers are losing their love to teach, and health workers are losing their love to care for others, which two things we need in this world. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. It's the truth. We're struggling right now. These are things that you don't need them until you need them, and you don't think about what's happening at school until your kid brings home a shitty report card, or there's a fight, or he gets bullied. But you kind of send them off, and you push them at home. That's not happening anymore. They're going into a war zone of adults acting like children, being poor examples, showing them that the future is uncertain, and kids can sense that stuff. I remember it always drives me nuts when parents are so goddamn fucking shielding their kids from reality. Like, I remember reality at a very young age. You could have told me some crazy shit and it wouldn't have fucking traumatized me. You're thinking, well, you already had your trauma. I'm okay with that. But to suggest that kids don't know what's going on, to sense the confusion, the uncertainty, and the frustration, and then turn on the news and hear a clown show lying and everything else, and this is the adults in the room, and then, just kind of through osmosis, sensing their environment is unstable. That creates problems. I'm not a fucking psychologist. This is kind of common sense. This is kind of why if I did have a child, that motherfucker would be a fucking ace. Because I would be on their shit. Not on their shit. I'd be in their shit. I would be concerned and caring. Where the fuck are you going? Not helicopter, but don't fucking treat my child like that. Get some fucking student. Go hire some teachers. I'm not fucking leaving this boardroom until you have fucking teachers. Because I'm not sending my kid to my tax-paying fucking institution where he's going to get COVID and then thrown in a room with a fucking teacher that's ready to pull their hair out. Come on. What is wrong with you? Call your fucking senator, call somebody, start marching and start walking out of your schools like they did in Chicago, and then demand that we at least get back to fucking status quo, which is, I hate to even say. We need to at least get back to what it was or something close to it. We're never going to be able to get there. But, one of the things that happened from the crisis locally was all of a sudden all the kids have iPads now, which I remember a couple years ago, and I didn't find the post where Local schools weren't giving kids books because they were worried about, the situation at home. This is an urban environment. But of course, a crisis comes along. We upped our game, which is fantastic. We threw a patch over it, though. Everyone now has an iPad. What the fuck are they going to do with an iPad when they've got one teacher to teach 200 students? But guess what? That's my guidance counselor that's now teaching math. I mean, this is real. And you've got passionate people that care about their job that are just leaving in droves. And it has a lot to do with the fact that you want your medical freedom, and you something happened to you where you have decided to support an entire political party that does nothing but shit in the room and then blame it on everyone else. The best analogy I can come up with was, I'm thinking, all right, you know what, we're sitting in a situation. I'm not suggesting that Democrats aren't fucking to blame for this shit. I mean, leadership is leadership, and if you're in there and if you're a local state rep and you're fucking quiet and not saying a damn thing and not doing press conferences about this problem, I have no fucking respect for you. I have no time for you. Your fucking messages are going to go unheard, okay? Unheard. Because you're not doing enough. You have a fucking megaphone. Get on the fucking megaphone and start announcing, say the exact same thing I did. We're in a fucking crisis right now. But people are too scared. They don't have the political will. But I have no time for folks that are in power just kind of poo-pooing this whole entire thing. It's driving. Why do I get so passionate about this? Because first of all, I know what it's like to really care about something, really enjoy it, and burn out from it, and then have to continue to perform that job. I've said it many times. Once I'm burned out, or I lose interest for whatever reason because my brain, finds things boring after I kind of get them a little bit, my work product suffers. So I've had good runs, 7-8 years with software computer science. I did well until the last year. I'm like, I think it wasn't horrible, but I'm like, this is boring. I'm replacing jobs. I'm basically optimizing departments at banks and fucking places and cable companies. I'm optimizing everything, but there's no optimization going to labor. It's all going up. I mean, we've made all these optimizations in technology. Why the fuck is labor fucking not getting that optimization? Why are we having the CEO pay and the administrator costs get paid, but we're not taking care of the folks on the front line? So when I hear platitudes of, hey, our heroes, and I've got my Republican colleagues or my Democratic colleagues suggesting that their heroes are the back the blue and all this shit. Back the blue, but not the blue that we're trying to stop the overthrowing of the U.S. government. That's kind of one Republican mantra. Then we're going to back the teachers, the Democrats say, but guess what? We're not going to fucking blast through some legislation that's going to put money into the pockets of districts so they can distribute it, because they don't give a shit either. They're getting paid. They're solid. We're looking at a failure of leadership across the board, and my analogy I wanted to tell you is it's like this. There goes the nose. I need to get on like an hour before and just like let it run and then maybe do something. But anyway, the analogy I thought of today, I'm going to end with this. I'll try to make this somewhat cohesive since I'm late. I appreciate the grace, guys. You can hammer me online if you want. I don't care. Everything I told you is true. I'm going to be as authentic as I can. And I've been falling asleep on caffeine. It's crazy, but it's true. But the analogy I was thinking about today was like, so the party, let's just suggest that America is a room, okay? It's a room, and we love the room. The room is empty. We need to put things in the room. And because of how things are, we have kind of split down the middle of how we think that room should be created, okay? And so, we have Democrats and Republicans, one or two people in the room at a time, whatever. And so Republicans tell you, hey, look, I really think we need a big bed in this room. Let's call it a bedroom. We need a big king-size bed. And of course, Democrats like, I'm not sure if we need a king-size bed. Really what we need is a couch. It'll serve as somewhere you can sit and everything else. We feel it's got to, or maybe Republicans take that tack. And they're like, we don't need a bed. We can use a couch because it's more efficient, conservative. Democrats want a big king-size bed. And so you've got this battle going on how to decorate the room, okay? So it's really simple. I'm reducing my the argument down to kind of the simple terms of America is a room, and you can think of an infrastructure or healthcare. Maybe healthcare is a chair, and infrastructure is the sofa, and maybe we want a wall clock, which might serve to be some kind of auditing institution or the State Department, whatever, okay? So each little object in the room represents some part or component, abstract or tangible, intangible or not, of our institution of government and kind of how our society's structured. I know it's really a stretch, but follow me. So room, every object, clock is something, this is something, and guess what? Since it's split down the middle, I think the clock should be digital. These guys think it should be analog. I think the sofa should be blue and have a pull-out bed because I'm a conservative, and that will be optimal. But the Democrats think that it should be individual chairs so that people can have social distancing. So this is the argument. This is the political turmoil. How do we furnish this room? And what happens, for whatever reason, is when one side says, you know what, I'm going to take control of this, and they go in there. I have control for this amount of time. I can decide how this room's going to look. And one side comes in and, by the way, you're also responsible to make sure the room is, for the next guy, that's livable, it's habitable. We need to make sure that, whatever you put in or however you decide to decorate it, there's going to be someone else in this room, so you don't want to totally trash it. Well, guess what? One party right now went in the room and decided to shit everywhere and throw shit everywhere. And by the way, this isn't just only one party that does this, but this time they really shit everywhere. I mean, feces on the wall. It's disgusting. I can't even talk about it. I don't even want to paint the picture. But look, you were supposed to go in there and change the fucking lamp. And why did you take a shit and wipe it on the wall? Wow, that's horrible. So the other side comes in and says, wow, you know what? Holy shit, I'm not equipped for this. I had a whole strategy to change the color of the lamp. But guess what I got to do? I can't leave it like this. I've got to clean up this shit. And so guess what this person does, or they start to clean it. They don't even know how to clean because their only function was to pick and choose between different things. So guess what they do? They clean it up, and they're doing the best they can, but it's still a shit show. It's horrible. And so guess what happened? That person on this side went in there to a clean room, and they were supposed to decide on the furniture and the style. Instead, they shit everywhere. They threw their poop on the wall. They did all kinds of crazy shit, and then they left. But when they went in, it was clean, okay? So they walked into a clean room. Through their chaotic, frenetic, schizophrenic, whatever you want to call it, cagophilia, they smear shit everywhere. Well, then all of a sudden it's the other side's time, and they're like, look, we really had a plan for, doing kind of these strip lights and doing the pull-out sofa. We really think that's going to be efficient. We're not equipped to clean this up. So they try. And they're walking into shits. They're walking into a room, and it's not like, see, the other side had this opportunity to walk in a room, and there was no shit on the wall. They still had to make very difficult decisions, but instead they threw shit on the wall. So the other side comes in with their catalog of items to pick and choose what's in the room. You know what they have to do instead? They have to try to clean up the shit. They're not equipped to clean up the shit. So they clean up the shit. The shit gets worse because they're cleaning it off with their hands. They don't have any paper towels because this wasn't equipped to have paper towels. It was just supposed to be a room where we can hang out and sleep or whatever. And so I'm cleaning it up and I'm doing this stuff, and it's really not helping. And the room stinks at this point. And so guess what? After my time is done, I leave, and then the other side comes in. Guess what they say? What the fuck? We walked into a clean room. Yes, there were mistakes made, but guess what? We walked into a clean room. And we expect we'd walk into a clean room. We did not expect that we would walk into a room where there was feces smeared. I know we realized that there were mistakes and things happened, but so what's happening is you have one side that's throwing shit everywhere. The other side has to clean up. They're not equipped to clean it up. They can't focus on where they were going. They can't really change the blinds or anything because they've got to clean this shit up. They don't even know how to clean it up because it's so ingrained in the walls and everything else. They don't really know how. And so they do the best they can. They get nothing changed. So everything looks exactly the same as before they entered because they didn't get the opportunity to make those decisions to improve or stylize it the way they want. And so guess what? The other party then can stand on a pedestal and say, see, look at these fucking people. You see that? You know, they come in, they come in. Remember, guys, when we came into government last time, how it was and how rosy it was? Well, now we're walking in this shitstorm. Well, guess what? You created this shitstorm, but now you have the opportunity to blame the other side. And that's what's happening. So what you have going on right now is you have Republicans saying, you know what? This is a crisis, Dr. Fauci. What are you going to do about it? And why can't you fix it? While they're burning the place down. It's like the arsonist that's that's joining the fire department. That's exactly what it is. And so, of course, it's like, wait a second. You're the one that's fucking burning it down, and now you're bitching about how we're cleaning it up? What the hell? And, of course, then I wanted this side to win because I was really excited about those new blinds. And so, of course, I'm not going to vote for this side. You said you were going to give me new blinds, and you've left a room full of shit. Well, we didn't throw this shit. Yeah, but you didn't clean it up right. And so you've got this whole thing where one side really fucks everything up. The other side, this is data, folks. This is data. Okay, data. One side fucks everything up. The other side is going to fuck shit up even more because they've got to try to clean up things. Their whole agenda platform is gone. So they can't get anything done. And so, of course, they become hated. So guess what? Everyone says both sides are the same. Both political parties, you know, left the room with shit everywhere, and they're all the same. They're all the same. And that's what you have going on right now. You had that happening in Capitol building. You have, you know, my wife, who's not deep ingrained in politics like I am, you know, suggesting even to me, she's like, it just feels like nobody's getting anything done, and they're all the same. Of course they're not all the same. And I know what she means when she says that, but that's what it feels like. And so guess where we're at? We just have little crises popping up, and that shit turns into mold, and now it becomes fucking a place for disease. And look, I know that analogy is kind of nasty, but I was really thinking hard about like what it feels like you know, I voted for this side because they align with most of my values and what I believe is good for America. And of course, I'm frustrated because they're not getting shit done, but they can't get shit done because they're on defense. And if you're a conservative on the other side, you're saying, ha, that's sweet, which is another fucked up thing because we have a whole entire political party that wants to do nothing but own the libtards and smear shit everywhere and then say, you know what, it stinks in here. Why can't you clean it up? And then point the finger and then accuse. That doesn't negate the responsibility that Democrats have and how fucked up they're trying to get things done when they could easily pass laws or make executive orders to fix some of this stuff. But you know what? They're too caught up in making sure that they aren't backed up against the wall, and so they've decided to play some offense too now. Because, you know, you got an eye for an eye and whatever the fuck it is. And so, look, that analogy was kind of crazy. I thought about it all day. I thought it was going to be good. Of course, oversleeping doesn't help my delivery. But the point is, you know, we're in a room full of shit. And people are kind of walking in and just, you know, some people aren't even holding their nose because they're so used to it. And we're coming to acceptance of this shit. We're coming to acceptance of the shit storm that we're in. And, you know, I looked, I don't see, you know, I see, you know, memes and everybody on Twitter and talking about it, but I don't see a mainstream narrative about how this crisis is going to break us down and lead to authoritarianism, lead to fascism, because you're not going to have people even understand it. You already don't have people that understand how we get there because they're complicit in getting us there by believing the lies, by breaking down truth. And you're like, dude, come on. You're really pie in the sky in this shit. You know, come on. It's really not that bad. It's that bad. Talk to your teacher friends. Do you have any fucking teacher? Do you have a kid? It's horrible. And it's because the adults, there's no adults in the room. And we have political leaders that don't know how to make solutions, that aren't willing to sacrifice their next political campaign to get the job done. We have weak, cowardly people in charge. I can't think of somebody that I look up to and say, wow, that person I aspire. If I want to be a politician, that's why. There's nobody except Obama maybe. And yeah, of course you can say whatever about it. But truth be told, the motherfucker is smooth, well-liked, educated, did his best, certainly failed in multiple avenues of getting actual shit done. But he wasn't throwing shit on the walls and then saying, hey, that's not shit. That's just my fucking essence. Or whatever the fuck Donald Trump's doing. So All right, look, what time is it? 12:30. I'm fired up about this, and I apologize about the oversleeping, but we're gonna have some kindness and grace for your host on his mistake of oversleeping, because as you know, I'm a vampire, and the caffeine thing's a real thing. I'm gonna have to kind of break my habit and get rid of this because I am in a good position mentally really lately, and I'm really fired up about where this is going, and I'm excited about it. So I'm not gonna beat myself up, but what I'm not excited about is the fact that I'm sitting here yelling and screaming about this stuff, and I have nobody. There's thank you, Joni, by the way, for checking in, and I know Josh is there, and I'm not suggesting that you aren't important, the folks that are listening, but I know I don't have 50,000 people watching this stream, and so I'm kind of yelling at the clouds and hoping that maybe somehow my message resonates with one or two individuals, which again is very gratifying for me. But I want to see that happen on. Again, I don't watch cable news, but I want to see that. I want to see a whole narrative about what the fuck. Why don't we have universal health care, which would solve a lot of the problems here because we'd have an infrastructure set up that we could distribute tests. We'd have an infrastructure set up where we would be able to handle the population. And no one would have to kind of hold back and queue up until they're in a crisis mode. That's one of the other problems. People don't go to the hospital or get their prescriptions because they can't afford them. So guess what happens? They become a new tax on the system because their disease or their ailment has kind of proliferated and become this nasty thing when it could have been, a couple pills and some antibiotics, and now they got full-blown fucking syphilis and they're fucking going nuts. I know that's a horrible analogy. Look, the sexual analogies come easy for me, so that's why I make them. Whatever. But you and I are living in a crisis time. Joni was correct when she said it's a sad time to be alive. It's a great time to be alive because you're alive, but it's a sad time if you're paying attention to see that there's no one really taking any stand. There's nobody that's taking the courage to do the right thing. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you can make excuses for your party, as I will in certain things, but both of them are responsible for the room. There's shit on the wall. Why don't you fucks just get together and first and clean up everything? And then you get back to fighting about the drapes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So instead of saying, hey, they shit on the wall or they shit on the wall, sure, maybe it's somebody's fault. Maybe it was the Republicans. Of course it was the Republicans. They elected Donald Trump. It was the fucking Republicans. But we'll just, for the sake of being nonpartisan, we're going to say that they're both responsible for the room. So I don't really care what the fuck, who did it, honestly. How about we get back to picking the drapes? How about we get back to talking about infrastructure? How about we get back to funding our education system? How about we get back to providing, which is going to be the future economic transport pretty much. Why don't we get back to providing the entire nation with high-speed, top-of-the-line, best-in-world, best-of-class internet so that people can get information? Why don't we get back? You think I'm joking about that, but that's a huge, that's also widening the gap that I talk about all the time. So, all right, listen, I'm going to try to wrap this up, and I'm going to do my thankful thing, but I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. And first of all, I got on tonight, and I was hot. Obviously, I was a little bit late, but I was hot today because these are friends of mine, Facebook friends of mine, people that I went to high school with, family, colleagues that are hurting right now, that are going through their job, where they're in a critical job, where they're teaching your little shit sexually transmitted parasitic dependence. I like that term, by the way. They're trying to help them become normal members of the society and not storm the Capitol building when they lose a fucking election. So we're trying to create folks and create these, give these folks an opportunity to understand that, hey, you know what? This is a complex world. You need critical thinking skills. And meanwhile, the adults are walking around protesting basic common decency and suggesting that it's akin to being stripped of all your wealth and thrown in a gas chamber, and where the bodies pile up, and we're trying to get that vent of air, and so everybody dies because they're fucking trying to get air in this gas chamber, and you're fucking not wearing a mask, and you're wearing a yellow star saying that you're just like those people who died. That's the educational level we're at. Get me the fuck out of here. Seriously. Stop right now. Stop looking stupid. And your whole fucking protecting billionaires looks weak as fuck too. So, I have a problem when I see folks kind of thriving while other people aren't, and then also having the power to help other folks and doing nothing. And we have an entire local, state, federal government that's doing this shit. I'm not saying we need to overthrow the government. I'm saying everybody's bad, but we're not collectively putting ourselves, we're not working together to clean up the shit. We're just saying it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. Yes, one of the parties, it may or may not be true, but get the fuck in there and clean it up. What's wrong with you? Why would you live in shit? Why would you continue to walk in that room and with pride when it's covered with shit? That's what we're doing right now, essentially. And it's frustrating as hell. And to watch a country that I have the ability to yell and scream and act like a fool. I can't do this everywhere in the world. There's people that would be shot doing this stuff. I have this opportunity to have my voice and vent and let my crazy out and hopefully motivate, instigate people to do the right thing. And this is fantastic. I love it. I want to continue this. But it's not going to happen if we have one party rule and we have folks that don't understand the critical importance of a government, that don't understand the difference between a government service and a business, and why government doesn't really give a fuck about profit, and they're annuitized permanently. So really you can take advantage of that structure that a government is supposed to sustain in perpetuity. So it makes the whole financials different. So stop comparing it to your fucking goddamn fucking spa. It's not a business. We're talking about a service that is completely different than your little profit model business. We have people that don't understand these basic stuff. And I'm talking about people that have PhDs, smart people in my fucking timeline, friends of mine, suggesting that, well, we got to run government. The post office isn't profitable. Get the fuck out of here. Who cares that the post office is not profitable? It's just completely inane, stupid folks, and we've created them. We're creating more of them. And while we're in this crisis, by the way, your little sexually transmitted parasitic dependents are going to become morons. Or they're going to find out, they're going to be self-aware, and they're going to see how the adults are acting, and it's going to stress them out. It's going to create trauma. I wish I was fucking wrong, man. I really do. I wish I was wrong. But that's where we're at. So I'm going to end with that. I will say thank you very much for your grace tonight, and sorry about being late. Google, I can't say it, adenosine. I'm not a journalist. That's always my excuse. But that's what happened. I mean, it's crazy. The last 4 days, every single time I take a coffee, I fall asleep, or drink a coffee, I fall asleep. It's probably because I'm drinking coffee all day. So don't drink coffee all day. If your brain's wired like mine, apparently, you'll fall asleep. By the way, back in the day when I used to do drugs, illicit drugs, I was notorious. Maybe this is a thing for me. I was notoriously the guy. I'm way too much information, but I have no fucks to give. I was the guy that would do a big fat line of coke and fall asleep. True story. Weird. My brain's weird. Anyway. Yes, I have a sordid past, and we'll talk more about that. It's fucking dope. I'm happy about my experience. I'm alive. I'm a survivor, and I got great stories to tell. And so I'm not proud of all the things I did, but certainly it's made me who I am, and it's made me understand people at a different level than probably a lot of folks. I can't say that, there are folks that came out of some of the shitstorms that I came out of with their brain kind of intact. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. I'm just saying this is why I believe I'm equipped to continue this and to tell my story and hopefully find ways to connect with people across the spectrum. Whether you're fucking going to Harvard and you're a fucking PhD in computer science, or you're fucking struggling on and hooked on crystal meth and you're living on the streets, I can probably talk to both of those demographics better than a lot of folks. And so I take pride in my experience making me who I am. So you're going to learn more about me as I go on, and I plan on sharing things that I guarantee nobody in my family knows a goddamn thing about some of the stuff I've gone through. And so I'm going to share that, and it's probably going to surprise some of them. And I'm proud of coming through all that stuff. And I think if I can grow this platform and share experiences I've gone through, and it hopefully moves the needle on where we're going in society. I know it's kind of glamorous and pie in the sky shit. What else are you going to do, though? What else are you going to do but think big? Then I want to continue this. And so I'll just roll right into my thank you. I mean, I love doing this. I'm excited every day. It's like I love it. I love doing it. I love kind of getting behind the camera, and I really enjoy emoting and just expressing myself. I look at this as an art for me, and it's kind of my outlet, and it's absolutely a privilege to be able to do it. And you guys are allowing me to do it. You know, I just want to say thank you for, you know, I don't have a huge following, and it's not where we're at the place we want to be yet. But the fact that folks support me and continue even today sharing, liking, and pushing some stuff and content and just kind of giving me that support that I need to kind of keep going once in a while, it's just awesome. So I want to say thank you to everybody. And I know that, you know, there's going to be folks that really aren't going to like the message I bring, and they're going to get offended. Maybe people that even agree with me, they're not going to like the language. They're going to nitpick because one time I said retard or something like that, which isn't acceptable. But it's a horrible word, and I used to love it, but I can't say it. But people are going to be offended, and I'm planning for every single person that ever listens to this fucking show is going to at one point go, God, that guy's an asshole, or man, that really pisses me off. And, you know, that's just how I roll. We're going to change hearts and minds through kind of making you expand your emotional range and understand and think differently outside the box. And by the way, sometimes I change my mind on things after I learn about them. And so my positions are going to evolve over the years. But the whole point of this is to make sure that we're changing. I'd like us to see, I'd like to live in a room where it's not covered with shit, okay? I just want to walk into the room and it not smell like shit and not have to say who did it and like have people fighting about like what kind of drapes I'm going to get and what we're going to paint it and all this stuff. Not the cleanup crew. That's what I'm looking for. So thank you for allowing me to do this. Again, thank you for your grace for letting me go late. I almost said, you know, I'll just do it tomorrow and tell what happened tomorrow. But, you know, I thought, you know what? That's the beauty of streaming. And that's the beauty of not having some corporation or some large funded thing that I can go, you know what? I fucked up. I'm going to get on anyway. And people will be able to see the show anyway. There's probably 3 or 4 people that watched live. And so there's a lot of people that aren't even going to know that I was late, to be honest with you. But I want to say thank you. I'm going to wrap with that. And, you know, what you can do, the call to action, I would say, you know, call to action is a term that they use when they say, what can you do? I think you could start calling your senators. I still haven't fulfilled that promise yet because I'm still nervous about calling people at 10:30. I don't know how I'd love to get an actual senator or legislator on the phone. So still in progress. But you can call them. You can write them letters. You can go to your school board meetings. Attend them. I mean, your kid's at school, and they're making decisions on what books your kid's going to read. So go to the fucking school board meeting and make your voice known. If you live in a completely red area and you don't agree with the conversations that are happening at your school board, show up, stand up, show your ground. Bring somebody to film it. If you're living in a blue area and they're not taking your concerns into play, and you have true, real concerns, real ones, real fucking concerns, not Tucker Carlson bullshit, but real concerns, go to your school board meetings. Advocate for yourself. Get involved. Participate. Again, these are your children, you fuck. I mean, what the hell? What do you want them to, how do you want your kids to end up? Traumatized, wondering who's in charge, knowing at a young age that nothing's good and the adults can't get anything done, and we're in a world that we really can't even coordinate basic, you know, care for our fellow human. Is that the world you want to live in? I'm not even talking about religion. I mean, come on, find your religion. Find your religion, whatever it is. And I'm sure your religion will tell you that what's going on in this world is so fucked up. Pray to your God, pray to Buddha, pray to Ganesh, whatever you want to do, but find your truth and participate. That's the beauty of America. We have all this diversity and everything else, and everyone can have a voice. Go make it known, because these guys don't care. They're serving the interests of their donors. Meanwhile, you and I are going to watch as we raise really, really idiotic children, and they're surrounding me. I'm surrounded by more idiots because we said fuck the healthcare system or education system. Now when I'm, 20 years from now when I get a heart attack, I'm dying because we have no beds because COVID's taken over. And these are real scenarios we're looking at right now that are happening to folks, people, and it has to do with the fact that our leadership is failing us, and you don't care. You're not participating enough. You're fighting about the wrong things. You're getting distracted by the wrong things. You're getting into the our team, your team shit, as opposed to, hey guys, go clean up the room, and get all the shit out, and then we can start fighting about what color the drapes are. Okay? So that's my scoop. That's my story. Thank you to Josh for making a comment. I appreciate it. You've been a great support. Joni, you're awesome. Is it? I guess it's. I'm sorry if it's. Is it Johnny? These aren't my computer glasses. Joni. Thank you for the comments, and I share your concern for this country, and I share that. I also agree with your statement that it's a sad time because we don't have folks that really care, and this goes for our local representation too. Smucker, Sterla, Srirachi. Denise Srirachi. Yeah, I think it is. So, I mean, if you're in local leadership, Izzy, you're trying to get this job. You mean you need to be on the front lines of this if you're trying to get Mike Sterla's job. I'm still a little pissed off that you haven't fucking responded to the inquiry that you said you would. All you got to do is email me the fucking answer to that, by the way. So you will get no, I said I would endorse you, but you'll get no public support until I get that. And I may or may not vote for you depending on how I feel that day because it's a primary and we're going to win it anyway. And I'm not sure if I want status quo at this point because it seems like you're bringing the same shit, ignoring folks that do have a voice and not responding. So I feel like I can kind of go through the list and say how absolutely lazy and unconcerned each one of those folks are about what's happening. And I'm going to get some hate mail from someone. I do this, I do that. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. You're not doing enough. You want to be in public service? Fucking do more. I want to see you on fucking live. I want to see you on fucking doing press conference. I want to see you leading marches. I want to see it out of your mouth, out of your pages, out of your platforms. I want to hear that you understand the problem and not just have a fucking hearing and make it I had 4 hearings on it. The fuck? So what? What happened from that? Why don't you start wrangling the troops and get fucking shit done? So until then, I'm thinking we have a bunch of cowards, and it's not going to happen unless you and I get involved and really demand that these folks do a better job. And whether you're a Republican or Democrat, you know the whole deal with the smashing the party. I don't really give a fuck, but I'm tired of living in a shit room, and I don't care. I might think this guy did it. You might think that guy did it, but you and I can both agree. Can't these two fucks clean the shit off the wall first? We can argue about the drapes. I said that 15 times. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I got to do my happy birthday tour, and I'm going to go, but I appreciate the grace from everybody, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 10:30, possibly 11:30. Who knows? Who knows? But we're going to try caffeine-free tomorrow and see how that goes. So who knows? I might be crashing in the morning, or I might be on some manic high because all of a sudden now all the adenosine has decided to release and bond with my receptors, and so I'm just loopy sleepy. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see you at 10:30 tomorrow. I appreciate everybody watching. Thank you for this opportunity. Peace. I'm out.